virus that killed everything. I was watching the news in my one-bedroom flat. The same old shit came on, the president doing shady shit, stock markets, the whole 9 yards. I was sitting on the couch when an emergency alert came on, a new virus killing crops and animals in the south of North America. The virus started from a new species of beetles, feasting on plants, the plants die, and the animals that eat these plants also die. That was 2 years ago today. The world has gone into a panic. 90% of Earth's beings have died. All animals, plants besides trees, and humans. Before the impending doom, my grandfather had a fallout shelter with 2 years of food and water stocked up in it. When everything started dying off, I moved in there. I have 1 can of beans left and half a bottle of water. I have to go out into the world soon. I hope there are people near me. I haven't talked to anyone in a very long time. Today, I went to my local gas station in Walmart. I luckily managed to snag 1 can of beans, which is a year outdated. I guess it'll do. I really need water. I can go 7 days without eating, but I can't live that long without water. I heard that the plant life in the oceans has died off too, so streams, lakes, drinking those is basically a death wish. I'm going to go to a supermarket tomorrow. I'm on my way to the supermarket, and all I see is death. There are dead people and animals everywhere I turn, but I finally got to the supermarket. The whole place is boarded up and has a sign that says survivors inside. I knocked on the door and yelled to see if people were still there, to no avail. I broke the boards down and got inside, but the smell of rotten flesh hits me. All the survivors are dead. I look around and find 7 water bottles and some old veggies that were processed before the virus was found, so they are safe to eat. I can believe all of humanity is missing. I'm getting more and more lonely, and I'm becoming more and more depressed. If I don't find hope soon, there will be no hope for me. A couple of days have passed. I fear that my time has run out. It's been 2 years, 4 months, and 29 days since the virus. Tonight will be time to finally meet up with my long-lost friends, where they are, heaven or hell, if it even exists, and tell them about the time all of life disappeared from the earth. Alone. Nothing worse than being alone. You feel useless, worthless, and think life's just pointless. Nothing brings you joy or happiness, and you are numb to emotion. People say that means you are a psychopath, but that could mean you're depressed. I thought I was depressed, but being in this jail cell now, I'm thinking otherwise. During my school life, I was always bullied. I had a speech impediment that people made fun of all the time, always got under my skin but never really driven me to the limit, if you know what I mean. I was walking home from school one day and one of my bullies, his name is John, ran up and pushed me straight into a puddle of muddy water. I got up, drenched and in shame, and just walked home, never looked behind me, didn't say or mutter a word, just walked home. Dinner time and my parents are fighting again. My father used to hit my mom a lot. I tried to defend her once, but I was 15 and 6 and he is 39 and 6.4, so he just punched me in the face. I got a broken jaw and had to do surgery. From that day I never intervened, even if I really wanted to. I ran up to my room almost in tears, thinking about how I just wanted to end it all, so I snuck into the bathroom at 2 a.m. that night and injected a high dose of Tylenol in one of my veins. I felt drowsy and in pain, so then I laid down and thought I would be free. I couldn't have been more wrong. I woke up in a hospital with a breathing tube over my mouth and heart racing like a speed horse. Then I started to cry, realizing that I failed to do that one thing right and that I was still alive. After 1 week, I was brought home by my parents, who both looked like they cared about me for once, and I was given the best dinner I have ever eaten. It was the first time I actually felt wanted, but I knew it was only pity. After 1 month of a good home life and no school, I eventually had to go back, and I was kinda glad to, because my parents were beginning to heat up again, and I don't have time for that shit. So I got ready and headed through the door, slowly walking to my personal hell, school. As I walked through the gate, I saw John ready to start making fun of me. Before he could get a word out, I punched him in the face 4 times and kicked him in the nether regions. I felt good, having people fear you for once and giving you the respect you deserve. So, I became the bully, beating up kids and making them feel like garbage. My parents eventually found out and gave me the worst beating of my life. I could barely walk. I went to my room and said that was the last straw. I grabbed the revolver under my bed. I bought it from a gun dealer in our neighborhood, if you were wondering, and ran to their room, killing both my parents in cold blood. No emotion, no regret, just pleasure and joy seeing my 2 biggest pains in the ass dead. I turned myself in and got tested by a doctor in jail. He said that I have the Mao gene. So I am a psychopath, not depressed as I once thought. Ever since I was a little girl, my dream was to be a mother. I carried around baby dolls, fake strollers, and bottles. I would steal tiny clothes and accessories from my younger siblings. I even tried stuffing my shirt with a pillow for a while in high school to simulate pregnancy. I married when I was 19 to a man who I liked but probably didn't love. He had a stable career and wanted to give me as many kids as I wanted, so clearly he was an ideal option for me. A few weeks after our marriage, we started trying for a baby. Weeks became months, months became years, and years because thousands upon thousands of dollars spent on IVF treatments. I became an angry person, constantly feeling like a failure of a woman because I couldn't produce enough eggs to make a little human. My husband and I began to drift apart, and what little connection we had began to fade. One night, after around 6 years of trying for a baby, I crept out of bed and went on my knees, now completely out of options. Lord, I know I don't do this often, but I really need a fucking baby. I don't know what I'll do if I don't get a baby. I paused to catch my breath. Give me your worst soul. I just need something. Oh yeah, amen. 3 days later, I was pregnant. Which was a little strange because I hadn't had sex with my husband in weeks. But I wasn't asking questions. I could finally do all the fun things you do during pregnancy. The cheesy gender reveals, baby clothes shopping, decorating the nursery. All the things I had been longing for the past 6 years. My labor was relatively short, with few complications. The only strange thing was when my daughter was born, she did not cry or fuss. The doctors thought she was stillborn for several minutes until she cracked open her eyes slightly. We named her Esme. Esme was, to say the least, a demon in the flesh. From the moment she escaped my womb, it's like she was out to make my life a living hell. She never stopped crying. She had this cry that was so ear-shattering, it sounded like when you rub a fork against a plate, and it never ended. And no one else seemed to hear it like I did. My family and friends would say she was giggling or babbling when she was clearly crying. I spent nights away from home like all the parenting books had said I should. But nothing seemed to work. In everyone else's eyes, I was crazy. One night, I walked into my daughter's room to feed her. Exhausted, I lowered her onto my chest. She screeched and hollered and bellowed horrific shrieks into the room. I wanted to cry again, but I didn't. I picked her up and looked her in the eyes. She was eye level with me. I shook her fiercely. I watched as her limbs jounced and trembled with incredible force. Her neck flew in circles, completely unsupported by me. Her eyes rolled up into her skull, very, very slowly. Then I got what I was seeking for. Silence. My husband divorced me after the accident, never to see each other again. As for Esme, on the other hand, is still alive. She is nonverbal, dumb, blind, wheelchair-bound, and has the mental capacity of a 3-year-old despite being 16. She sits on the couch, silent and in confusion. Her cloudy, wandering eyes torture me every day and everywhere I go. I would give anything to hear a mumble, a grunt, any sort of sign she's more than just a vessel of torture for me. Death would be her only escape, I whispered as I walked toward her motionless body with the knife. Finally, I would be a good mother.